was about to publish my first book, I started to get a little bit nervous. You see, up until this point of publishing, one of the things that I was associated with was being a good girl, with being nice, with doing the right thing and the good thing. And I was about to publish a book about my journey, my relationship to sex. I talk about masturbation in this book. I talk about non monogamy. I talk about things that good girls don't do. And as I was getting ready and as I was thinking about this, and as I knew that I had reached the point where this was going to happen no matter what, there was one word in particular that I really started to get scared about people calling me. And that word was slut. Ugh. When I heard that word, I was just like, God, no. It almost made me not want to publish the book. I got really scared and really nervous and really uncomfortable about this idea of being called a slut. It seemed dirty to me. It seemed slimy. It seemed like something that I wasn't, and I knew I wasn't, but I knew no matter how much I believed in what I was sharing and what I wanted to say, that someone was going to see me as a slut, and I hated it. What's really interesting, though, was as I was going through that process and as I was kind of agonizing in some ways about being called a slut, I met someone, and I was sharing this story. I was sharing how I was excited to be publishing this book. I was excited about kind of in my own way coming out and really allowing myself to be more of who I was. But I was also sharing with this person this struggle that was going on around what's going to happen. What if people call me a slut? What am I going to do? How is that going to be? How am I going to work with that? And I was sharing my own process. And what was interesting was that person decided to give me a challenge. They challenged me to embrace the word slut. And even further, they challenged me to ask my boyfriend to call me a slut when we were having sex and to see what happened. Now, initially, when I heard him give me this challenge, I just wanted to squirm away from it. It seemed like gross and dirty, and I was just like, no, I do not want to do this. And there was a part of me that was really curious to explore beyond what my current relationship was to the word, to really understand myself more sexually and to get a better sense of why it was impacting me in the way that it was. And so I decided to do it. I went home, I talked to my boyfriend, and I asked him if while we were having sex one time, he could call me a slut. And I could see how that felt. So I asked him, and he did. The interesting thing that I noticed is when he called me a slut, there was a part of me that actually got really excited about it, that found it fun, that made me feel feisty and alive and brought out this different quality to even the way we were having sex. It turned something on inside of me that I wasn't really in touch with before. I'm Jacqueline Foster, as I mentioned, the author of I Touch Myself, Lessons to Wake Up Desire and Fire Up Your Sex Drive. The reason I share this story is because we are all sexual. And the relationship we have to our sex, especially in America and in our modern world, is one that it's really hard to win. We are often either seen as too sexual or not sexual enough. We're it's kind of slutty, or we're a prude, or we're kind of good in the middle if we just don't talk about our sex lives at all. Have you ever had that experience where you're sharing about something sexual or sexual part of yourself and you either feel shame in yourself or you know the other person is uncomfortable? This is something that a lot of us face. But here's the thing, is that discomfort does not go away when we continue to try to avoid that part of ourselves, when we continue to try to pretend that our sexual side doesn't exist. And so with this story, I offer you a challenge to see the parts of yourself that you are denying, the part of your sexual self that you're trying to pretend doesn't exist. What is a word when it comes to your sexual self that you have a lot of resistance to? A good way to think about this, a good way you can kind of figure out what that word is for you or what those words are, is to think about something that you either reject or, ugh, like can't stand in another person, or that you either idolize, that you think, oh, they're so sexy and beautiful, there's no way I could be that. If you have either of those responses, that's a good indication that there's something within you that you're not embracing. So I encourage you to think about that. What do you reject or idolize in another? And how can you just take a reflection and ask yourself, in what way do you embody that as well? This is a time to put good and bad aside. Becoming a whole person is not about being perfect. It's not about having everything figured out or looking good. It's about embracing all of who we are. And the more that we embrace all of who we are, the more we get a chance to know ourselves better and reduce our suffering in this world, and actually to experience more pleasure in our bodies and in our whole experiences. This doesn't mean you have to change anything. This doesn't mean you have to do anything. This is an awareness exercise where you start to realize and remember that you are a whole person, my friend. That there's so much more to you than just the one way that you were maybe grown up to think about yourself. We put ourselves in these categories, and when we can take ourselves out of the box of these specific categories and embrace ourselves as a whole person, we begin to open up to a whole nother world for ourselves. So I ask you to do this reflection, to think of a place that you either criticize or idolize another person in your life for the way that they show up in their body and in their experience sexually. My name is Jacqueline Foster. Go over to JacquelineLaceyFoster.com and pop in your email so that I can send you updates and let you know when upcoming events are coming up, and also to send you updates when a new video blog is coming out. Wishing you an amazing day, and I look forward to sharing more next time.